much you can see. Driving along the road. See if I can get this situated properly. I guess you can see something, can't you?
Said, yeah, let's send this thing off to kill it. It's going to a committee where actually the balance of power lies with people who want to keep the registry. So it'll be interesting to see how they finagle that. They can stall it.
So I got
they
the
can
news on
amend
here.
it. They can actually recommend it be killed if they want. But they'll have to come back to the House for verification again. And I'm sure the vote will be similar. And then it's off to the Senate where who knows what will happen. So I think the sentiment of the House will prevail in the long run, but it could be a long run.
Julie, what do you think?
Well, I think a lot of emotion is going to kind of, congeal at this committee, which will probably be meeting at the beginning of December, which just happens to be the 20th anniversary of the shooting at École Polytechnique in Montreal, which is December 6th, I think. The committee will probably be meeting around that time. You're going to see a parade of all the same people you saw back in 1995 when the registry was passed, which was a Liberal bill, Bill C-68, which has given them a lot of grief since then because the split is between those people who like the registry in the cities in general and those people who are against the registry in the country, like the hunters and stuff like that. But this has caused so much grief for the Liberal Party because it's almost part of their principle, especially because it all flowed out of École Polytechnique and the shooting. When Michael Ignatieff always talks about he does things by principle, there wasn't a lot of principle in this vote this week. Michael Ignatieff, Jack Layton, they went to the screening of the movie Polytechnique in April. They voted, along with many other people at the time, in a block motion to save the registry because this keeps cropping up because the registry is very political. And all they had to do was whip the vote, and they didn't. They kept using the excuse, well, this is a private member's bill, and so, traditionally we keep those votes free votes. So they went for procedure instead of what the police keep telling them and the parents. So this is a very, very political, emotional issue, and a lot can change at the committee.
But I think it's interesting that the bloc
said something about not to bring your guns inside, something like that. It was a shocking, I guess it was a picture of a gun with a line through it. And that was such a shock to see that. You know, when I grew up down there, I left 30 years ago. Back in those days, people didn't have guns. It wasn't a big deal to have a gun. And now it's all changed. People think they hold to their guns and their Bibles, which to me are opposites, but whatever. Go ahead. Anyway, so they've just lately decided to scrap the gun registry, or there's been a motion tabled to do that. It was costing an incredible amount of money to police the whole gun registry thing. But I think they want to, I don't know, you heard what I heard. Anyway, and one little detail is Ignatieff is the leader of the opposition.